Arpeggios can be seen as the melodic framework around which many solos and vocal lines are built. As we'll soon discover, arpeggios can function as the skeleton of your lead solos, fleshed out using scales. The best place to begin with arpeggios is to see how they relate to chords, starting with major arpeggios. Take this familiar A major bar chord at the 5th fret. The numbers labelled on this diagram are the suggested fingering. In a rhythm context, we'd typically strum the notes of the chords simultaneously. But we can arpeggiate this chord by playing its notes in sequence. Arpeggios are often described as a broken chord, so the first thing to remember is where there's a chord, there's an arpeggio, and vice versa. However, rather than simply arpeggiate the chord shape, there are patterns we can use around chord shapes that are more suitable for arpeggio playing. Let's have a look at these patterns. A major arpeggio follows the natural sequence of intervals that make up what is called a major triad. We have the root, or 1, which corresponds to the root of the chord you're arpeggiating, A in this case. The numbers on the top diagram are the intervals. We then have a major third, or 3. And finally, a perfect fifth, or 5. This 1-3-5 sequence repeats at each octave, allowing us to form a sequential pattern that makes use of the chord's tones at different pitches. So here we have our first basic arpeggio pattern, built closely around that familiar bar chord shape. Start by playing from root to root, first from 6th to 4th string root. Just using these 3 strings, we could arpeggiate a simple chord sequence as follows. So the patterns we're forming here are movable and remain in their fixed formation as we move to a different major chord up the neck. Let's now play the arpeggio from the 4th string root to 1st string root. Now, in many arpeggio patterns, we'll have to negotiate 2 sequential strings on the same fret, such as the 2nd and 1st strings in this pattern. This can make fingering a little tricky, but the most economical way to play between 2 strings like this is to use a technique called rolling. Rolling involves using the same finger to fret both strings at the same fret. If we were moving from 2nd to 1st string, for example, we'd fret the 2nd string as normal with the finger tip, and then roll it back so the pad below the tip frets the 1st string. If moving down from 1st to 2nd string, we'd simply reverse this rolling sequence. As we'll be using this rolling technique a lot when playing arpeggios, you might as well start practicing it now and aim to perfect it. Play between these 2 strings using the rolling technique until each note is cleanly separated. It's a very subtle technique and it may take some time to master, but patience and persistence will get you there. Once you're comfortable with this rolling technique, try playing through the entire arpeggio sequence from 4th to 1st string and back. Remember, where there's an arpeggio, there's a chord. Again, we can move this sequence up or down the neck to different chord positions. Back to the original A major position, now play from 3rd to 3rd in the pattern. Finally, from 5th to 5th. So we can start and end our arpeggio sequence on any chord tone. You should be confident with doing this for variation. Just like with chords and scales, there's more than one pattern we can use for a given arpeggio. Sticking with A major, try these patterns, using the same process we used before. In this pattern, we're playing the low third on the 6th string. We've also added a higher third on the 1st string. Some players prefer to use the following pattern, which skips the 2nd string altogether. Even though these patterns use different fret positions, we're still playing the same A major 1-3-5 sequence, built around the same related chord position. When learning scales, we tend to learn patterns in different positions on the neck, and then string them together into one large pattern. We can do exactly the same with arpeggios. Take this A major pattern, starting and ending on the same 5th fret root. This one's challenging, as it involves a 3-string roll. The same technique as the 2-string roll applies here. A gradual collapsing back of the finger to move up the strings, and then reverse for coming down. Try and get the notes as cleanly separated as possible. This is all valuable practice for more advanced arpeggio playing when we come to it. Start slow and build up your speed gradually, ideally using increments of 5 BPM on the metronome. We can see how this pattern covers the open A major position. Always be on the lookout for related chord shapes within your arpeggio patterns to help keep your bearings on the neck. We can also see how this pattern overlaps with the patterns we initially learned. We can connect these two patterns in different ways, using jumps and slides. For example, start by playing the lower pattern 1-3-5. Now jump to the next pattern for the next note in the sequence. It adds a nice touch if you slide your ring finger to the root on the 4th string. Let's continue from there and just see where the patterns take us. We could continue this sequence into other patterns up the neck, which you can find on the lesson page. Practicing these fret jumps will not only help you to memorize this sequence of patterns, but it will also help you to move to different parts of the neck fluidly, giving you more freedom to link up different scale positions across the neck. We'll look specifically at that function another time. As you can see, arpeggios alone are a great way of building a basic roadmap for moving across the fretboard. Eventually, you'll see these arpeggios as the skeleton for your scale phrasing, helping to keep your solos connected to the chords you're playing over. If you want to continue this process, head over to the lesson page for more patterns and exercises to get you moving between patterns smoothly and quickly. Cheers.